program are solely the opinions of the host, guests, and callers. They do not necessarily represent the views of the advertisers, management, staff, or ownership of WCTC.
Speak up and be heard on Jersey issues that matter most to you. Call Jersey Central with Bert Barron now at 732-545-9282 or toll free at 888-545-9282. Your state, your home, your voice. Jersey Central with Bert Barron on the new Talk Radio 1450 WCTC.
It is 7:08, hour number 2 of Jersey Central on this Monday morning on the new Talk Radio 1450 WCTC, the voice of Central Jersey. It is Bert Barron. Good to have you here. We'll do our contest coming up a little bit later on in this 7 o'clock half hour. The first prize that we have of Bert's Jersey Stocking Stuffer is going to give that away coming up in just a little bit. A very fun, adult-themed card game that was invented by a guy from South Jersey, which has just taken on a life of its own. I would give you a chance to win a copy of the card game coming up a little bit later on in this 30-minute segment here of Jersey Central. Let's get right to the Raritan Bay Medical Center Jersey Newsmaker Hotline and welcome in the Executive Director of Retailers for Responsible Liquor Licensing, who is working for some change here in New Jersey about how you and I purchase alcoholic beverages. So let's say hello to A.J. Sabath, who is with us here on WCTC. AJ, good morning. It's Bert Barron. How you doing today?
Good morning, Bert. Thank you very much for having me.
Good to have you on the show today. All right, walk me through this. This involves a bill that's in our legislature that would make it easier for supermarkets, just to name one, easier to make them have them be able to sell beer and wine. And this is something that your group is in favor of, AJ?
Yeah, what we're trying to do is we're trying to advocate for a change in the liquor licensing laws that prohibits some supermarkets from being able to sell not just beer and wine, but beer, wine, and spirits. There's currently a 2-license limit that affects specific supermarkets that are corporate entities that can only hold 2 licenses. So as a result, they're only able to have to sell spirits in 2 of their stores. And one of the things that we're advocating for is a piece of legislation that would gradually increase the number of liquor licenses from 2 to 10 over a 10-year period of time, with an economic study in between to be able to determine whether or not there's an adverse economic impact on local retailers.
Now, I know other states have a similar setup where it seems like they're a little more farther along in this than New Jersey is, where it's a little easier to purchase alcoholic beverages like this. Is it successful in other states, AJ? Is it working okay there?
It's working very well in other states. And in fact, the state of Massachusetts actually had modeled reform in their state after legislation that was sponsored by Assembly Majority Leader Lou Greenwald here, who's the sponsor of our bill. And that law now has been in effect for almost 3 years, and there's been no adverse economic impact. There's been an increase in jobs, revenue to the state, and there's been an increase in liquor sales as well, which is good all around in terms of to the wholesalers and so on. Because one of the arguments is there's only so much of a pie, and if you create additional liquor licenses, then all you're doing is kind of cannibalizing existing sales, and that's clearly not true. And one other thing that's important to note is, we're not advocating for like Florida, where you can buy cases of beer at gas stations and in drugstores and so on. This is just an increase in licenses to supermarkets, and we're not also creating additional licenses. There's hundreds of existing liquor licenses that are not being used just because the lack of interest. And so what we're allowing for is the use of these surrendered licenses that are available. So we're not creating anything new or creating any more licenses.
Right, sounds like it. How do you pitch this, AJ, to the guy who's running his father's corner liquor store that's been open since the 1930s, and they've been moving product and they've made their living off it for 70, 80 years? How do you tell them that this is good for everybody? Because if I ran the corner liquor store, I might be a little bit concerned that the supermarket down the street is now able to sell what I've been able to sell for a long time. How does that impact the mom and pop liquor store?
Well, first of all, it's understandable that anybody would be concerned, but in many cases, competition can be good because it provides variety for consumers, and that's what consumers want. But there's been no scientific information or any economic data that shows otherwise. And in fact, all one needs to do is to go to the Bergen County towns of Ridgewood and Paramus to see 5 liquor stores, excuse me, 5 supermarkets that sell liquor, surrounded by almost 30 liquor stores. So there's countless examples of that all over the state of New Jersey. And the reality is there's large retail liquor mega giants that are able to kind of do a workaround of the 2 license limit, which our supermarkets can't. And those are the ones that I think the mom and pops have to watch out for, because if anybody's going to put the mom and pop out of business, it's going to be those mega liquor retailers and not the supermarkets that sell beer, wine, and spirits.
Gotcha. Would this go beyond supermarkets, AJ? Are we talking maybe convenience stores and gas stations would be able to sell, or are you just looking at supermarkets for the time being?
I think that the sponsors and the leadership in the legislature really want to limit it to supermarkets. So they use an example of like Florida. They don't want beer and wine being sold from gas stations. They don't want drugstores and so on. So right now we're following that lead, and we're just sticking to supermarkets.
Okay, so let's say, for example, this happens and you're now able to pick up a 6-pack or buy a bottle at your local supermarket, whichever one it may be. Now, are these cashiers now, are these going to have to be trained now on how to check an ID and verify that an ID is legitimate? Is it going to kind of slow down the checkout process a little bit for people that just want to get milk and bread and eggs?
Well, no. Actually, a lot of supermarkets already are selling age-restricted items, whether it's medicine, cigarettes, or lottery, and they all have very sophisticated equipment. So if there's any kind of issue at a store that currently would sell liquor, I mean, the supermarket can get shut down if there's a violation. And we've done an OPRA request, which is an Open Public Records Act request, a government request for information from the Alcohol Beverage Commission in New Jersey, which is the one that handles all the complaints against all liquor retailers, whether it's a supermarket, whether it's a tavern, or whether it's a packaged goods store or a large liquor retailer. And in the last 3 years, there were 0 violations of underage sale at a supermarket in the state of New Jersey.
Okay.
While at the same time there were over 100 at packaged goods stores and large liquor chain retailers.
Wow. Okay. So I guess the manufacturers and the distributors of the beer and wine, they like this because it gives them more outlets to move product, right?
Well, absolutely. And we think, but the bottom line is that, you have local liquor retailers who are opposed to it. And, we're customers of wholesalers. And, so are liquor retailers. So, nobody wants to get caught in the middle of, 2 friends that they had that
Sure.
might be having a dispute. So, but yeah, we believe that this benefits everybody.
Okay. Now, there was a huge session that happened last week. It was the last vote for the Assembly and the Senate last Thursday. Was this one of the bills that was considered, and was there a vote on this?
Not yet.
Okay.
And we're still alive. The legislative session still goes on until early January. So we're in the process of negotiating with leadership, and we've had a very good response. We're very cautiously optimistic, but this has been an ongoing campaign for us for a number of years. So we're not letting the foot off the gas pedal.
All right, really good. AJ Sabath, my guest, the Executive Director of Retailers for Responsible Liquor Licensing. Stay in touch with us if you would, AJ, because I'd like to see how this plays out, and I would like to see how this is going to go through in Trenton, all right?
Thanks, Bert. It's been a pleasure.
All right, thank you very much. All right, my guest, AJ Sabath on the Raritan Bay Medical Center.